Alright, we're back for another exciting tutorial. Today is about audio. So the approach I want to take is similar to what I did with the lighting. That was the last tutorial I did. In case you want to go back and look at that. I'm trying to put them in order. Some get a little bit out of order, but for the most part I try and number them. So I'm trying to cover some topics twice, isolate them to their own tutorial as well as cover them in other tutorials as I build the level. The audio is similar. I've already showed you how to trigger audio with a trigger, but I may repeat that again in this video. So my approach for the audio is a similar approach to the lighting. The lighting has a central light source, the slime tunnel, which is kind of a warm pink. And then I added these cool lights, which are from the concept image, which we've all seen multiple times. And then I added a warmer light, similar to like a hanging light bulb, old school light bulb. And same within here. Eventually I'm going to add some mesh to have the old school light bulb hanging, I think, make it look much nicer. And then I added the warm sunlight to this hole. I just impulsively added a hole in here to fill out the level and make it more interesting. So that's what I really started as, central light source, and then I started accenting with cool lights, looking at the concept art, and making sure that mimicking the concept art. Excuse me, I need some water. But mimicking the concept art, yet still being creative. So you can see the cool lights over here. You don't see much light over there, but there's obviously something going on there. And I created this room behind the kiosk against the far wall, so I added a light to that. And in here I can do whatever I want, and I didn't like everything being bright pink, so basically what I did was added a natural light source coming through here, which helped immensely. So what I have is a main light source, pink, the cool lights in the back here, a couple warm lights to add contrast, and then a natural light coming through. So I think it turned out pretty good. That's what I'm going to do with the audio. So here we go. We need, oh, I've already got it typed up, ambient. Type ambient into your search bar and get an ambient sound node. So we're going to put this in a central spot so I can find it. Let's be smart and name it correctly. I'm going to keep it ambient because I remember that. I like that title, that term, ambient. And I'm just going to say background loop. There we go. And I'll call them all ambient, so they all stay together. And when we go into details, we see a couple things. We have the attenuation, which you go down here to the attenuation tab. And if I want to overwrite it, that's where I set the distances and everything. On this one, I'm not going to overwrite it, so I'm going to leave it unchecked, and it makes it global. You're going to hear this sound everywhere. I'll go over the attenuation after. And the next thing I want is just to add a sound, basically. I can change my volume here, I can change my pitch, there's other things I can change, especially the attenuation we'll do later, modulation. You can tag it, so you can call it elsewhere. Auto activate versus activate upon an event. Edit billboard scale. This would obviously probably be the visual of the billboard. You don't actually see it when you play the level. I believe this just hides it in the viewer. Oh, I don't know. Interesting. It actually has that set there. Alright, what we want to do is find our sound. So what we need is go into our tutorial folder, audio assets, and here's my audio. What we need is just a WAV 16-bit, which you can find on any, which I say freesound.org is good. There's a whole bunch of others. Download them if you need to change them to a WAV or 16-bit in Audacity. Go right ahead, change them, export them, and then you simply drag it from your folder and drop it here. So if I was to drag a new sound from Windows Explorer, let's drag in, and as you can see, it takes a second before it gives me the plus sign. So you gotta wait for it to give it to the plus, and then it'll import it in. If you drop it while it still has that negative sign on it, it will not give you an error, it just won't put it in there. So some people drag and drop it fast and like, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Just be patient, it'll work. So I dropped in a goo sound. But for my background, what I want is a cavernscape. So if we double click on our cavernscape, it opens it up just like material or static mesh. And what we want to do is set it to looping, which it already is. Loop. And you can also mess with the volume here and the pitch. So save. With this selected, go back to my ambient emitter, go to the sound field, and hit the arrow, and cavernscape is in. So now when I begin the level, spooky wind, somewhat appropriate because we have this big hole here. Probably would be blowing through the tunnels here. Not too bad. So that's not a bad background ambient sound that keeps looping. So just like my lighting, let's start thinking about more localized, interesting audio to add. The one I just dragged in, the goo, is probably going to be very appropriate here as I have this goo animating and dripping and drooping in here. So what I'm going to do is grab another ambient audio, drag it over here, but this time I want to play. I'm going to put it near the source of the sound, which is my dripping goop. This time I'm not going to have it be, I will override the attenuation. So I click it, and now we see two attenuation radius show up. One is called radius, one is called fall off. So my audio will be at full volume inside of this orange circle, the radius, and as we look out, it will fade off to 0 once it reaches the outer rim of this radius, which is obviously huge. So let's bring it in. And the only way you're going to know what works for this is to test it by being in the game. So let's try that. So by the time we get over here, it should fade off to nothing, which might be a little short, but you really can't tell until you get in the game. So what we want to play in here is goo. This is goo. Let's loop it, save it, and let's drag and drop it in here. I can drag and drop it. Play. Notice I don't hear it over here. Don't hear it over here. I believe our attenuation starts right about here. Do we hear it? Really low. A little louder, a little louder, a little louder, a little louder. Oh! Kind of abrupt here. Probably could hear it from out here as well. So let's mess with that attenuation a little bit. It goes from 0 to 10 too fast. Let's make this a little bit bigger and maybe make the fall off to full a little bit smaller. So I suspect that's going to work. That's pretty good. And playing with your sounds individually as well as your emitter is going to be a lot of work. You know, you're constantly running around as they add new sounds and which one interferes with what. So that's a good one. Now we should probably hear something when we're just around the slime. So just like me having the lights be the central light source, I'm not going to have the slime river be the central audio source, but I am going to add audio that sounds like the river is moving and it's going to loop. So I'm going to put it here, and I'm not so sure about these being so huge. Actually, you know what? This is interesting because you really should hear this through most of the river, close to full, now that I look at it. So let's make this one pretty big and put it in the central spot. So this one's going to get louder here, so I could probably make it move over here and not be at full here. Let's see if that works. So we've got that in there, and what was the name of my moving river? Thick Liquid. Drag that in here. Oh, that's attenuation. I keep looking at that. Oh, and I copied it, so it's got goo in it right now. Thick Liquid. See how this sounds. You can hear it moving a little bit. Pretty slow moving. Kind of sounds cool. Well, it stops over here. You should probably hear it over here as well.
Access denied. Please try again.
Probably want to hear it over here as well. Oh, I don't hear it at all. Something happened there. Oh, did I not set it to looping? Thick Liquid. Ah, not looping. Save that. Let's make it attenuation. Oh boy. You are going to not hear it as much over there, so let's just spread out the fall off a bit. Let's see how that works. It's actually pretty good, but it sounds a little bit irritating. Might need an adjustment to that sound. Kind of sitting in your ear a little bit too much. You can hear that moving liquid. It's a good idea. I'm not sure if it's working. Might just have to kill it completely and let the howling winds be the dominant force of sound. Yeah, I think I make it fade out a little bit. Maybe just make it. Maybe if I just play at the volume so it's a little bit lower. So let's do that. Let's do volume multiplier. Let's go to 0.7. And the other sounds. What other sounds we want to add? We have the river. We have the dominant background cavernous sound. We have the dripping liquid. And maybe in here we'll have like a running generator sound. So let's grab this again, copy paste, drag it in here, and let's have a humming machine sound emanating from here. Let's tune the attenuation. Full sound would be here, fall off. There's a fall off here. Zoom out. Go into wireframe so I can see it. Let's have it fall off just outside of the room so you know something's in there. And it doesn't just turn on when the door opens. Alright, let's try that. Let's make sure we get the right sound in here. And the sound for that would be generator or generator on. Oh, that sounds better. Let's loop that guy. Loop. Save. And click into our sound spot. Alright. Play. Oh yeah, putting that at 0.7. Just lowered it enough. It sounds pretty good. You can hear that kick in. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds real good. That's the best sound yet. That sounds just like a rumbling old machine, doesn't it? Alright, cool. Alright, well that's the basics. And if we're wondering how to fire off
Access denied.
something
Please
like that,
try again.
or this, by just touching trigger volumes, let's check them out. So just to double cover this, in case you're thinking, how do I do sounds? And you haven't watched the other videos, we can quickly look at this. So the simplest one would be this intro text. So I'm zooming over here, don't want to turn it on. This intro text right here. Let's go back to lit. When you walk in, I have my text saying IGC fly through since I don't have it yet. So if we were to click on that, you're obviously touching this trigger volume. If we just right click, and it does not find the reference, which is annoying here. So what we need to do is find the trigger and right click, and it'll find the event. I wish you could find just a reference to that object in script or blueprint. That is definitely it. And there's no comment. Comment IGC text, and I'll number it so it's easy to follow, just like the level. So this is the trigger. When we touch the trigger, we grab this trigger, go into blueprint, right click, add event. So context sensitive is checked. Remember, worst enemy, best friend. It'll find things quickly, and it'll also refuse to let you find things. So you got to check it and uncheck it to make sure you can find things properly. Check it. We're going to add an event on begin after overlap. It's going to give me it's not going to create a new one because you only can have one. And there it is. So on after begin overlap, it says the name of the camera, trigger camera door. What we need to do is just right click and play sound at location. Play sound at location. So the location we want it to play is not 000 in the middle of the world. What we want it to play at is something that's right close to our player. So what's right close to our player is this text render object. So if we select this text render object and right click, and with context sensitive checked, I can create a reference. And sometimes Unreal will do this and sometimes it won't. If you try and connect these two, nope. One day I'm hoping they automate that and we don't have to do this. Get actor location. And this is obviously, well, see, and I have context sensitive checked and it doesn't find it. We're not doing an average array location. We just want an actor location. So there's your proof of your best friend and worst enemy context sensitive. Connect that. Now the audio is going to play here. The audio you play in here is we're playing this goofy little key pickup sound, which is pickup key, which is named horribly. I need to rename. If we play it, we can hear it. Ding. So if we select that, click on this, or you can go to the drop down menu and say pickup key. There it is. Connect it to our trigger. Just connects. Connect. Build. Play. Ta-da! Simple triggering of audio in your level. And you could do that with a loop as well. If you make it loop, it'll just keep on playing. So that's it for your basic audio tutorial. Super simple, super straightforward. And again, play with those attenuations. Don't have a million of them overlapping. Pick your sounds properly. Tune the volumes a little bit. The only way you're going to figure out if it's going to work if you play your level over and over again and test all the corners and all that stuff. So that's it for audio for today. Bye.